Ex's divorce lawyer, send 3 years of complete financials or else. Me, as you wish. This happened several years ago when my ex and I were going through a heated divorce/custody battle. While we were married, we had a couple of conversations about how rich people hide their assets to avoid paying taxes. I've never had enough assets to do this, but she somehow got the idea that I was and told her attorney that I was laundering money and hiding income. It was more likely the heat of the moment, as divorce/custody battles often come down to. I couldn't even afford my own attorney, so I represented myself. Her lawyer wasn't a total ass, but he clearly was out to get me, and he talked down to me like I didn't deserve to breathe the same air. One day, I get a letter in the mail from him requesting an updated income declarations form and 3 years of financials. It had a long-ass list of things to include. I own a communications tech company that was in super startup phase back then. Money was already tight. I was trying to get this business off the ground with no financing. I was finishing my MBA with scholarships and loans, so, paying for copies and postage or driving these 30 miles to his office meant eating peanut butter and saltines for a week. So, I called him to explain my situation. He all but called me a liar and didn't believe I couldn't afford it. I was put off by that, and I said this was taking time away from business I needed to handle. To which he replied, and I'll never forget this, well, according to your income declarations, you're not that busy. What do you do all day? He then said if he didn't get these documents, he would consider my previous filings as fraudulent, tell the judge, contact the DA, and also alert the state tax agency and IRS. Probably an empty threat, but I'm no lawyer. eFax is one of the services my company provides, and at this time it was relatively unknown. So I asked him if he has a fax machine. He said he had a fax/scanner/copier device, then said what law office doesn't have a fax machine? And I suddenly got an idea. Okay, I said to him, I'll put together and fax whatever I can. Okay, mother ducker. You want 3 years of financials? You got it. I scanned to PDF every receipt I could find. McDonald's receipt from 5 years ago? Duck it, won't hurt to include it. CVS receipt. It's 3 miles long, perfect. They get the $1 off toothpaste coupons too. I downloaded every bank statement, credit card statement, purchase orders from vendors, and every invoice I sent to clients. I printed to PDF the entire 3-year accounting journal, monthly/quarterly/annual balance sheets, cash flow statements, P&Ls. Not only did I PDF 3 years of tax filings, but every single letter I received from the IRS and state tax agency, including the inserts advising me of my rights. It took a while, but I was a few days ahead of the deadline. I made a cover page black background with white lettering. Wherever I could, I included separator pages in all caps in the biggest, boldest font that would fit on the page in landscape, 2020 receipts, 2020 taxes, etc. I merged everything into a single 150-plus page compressed PDF and sent the document using my eFax system. Every hour or so, I received a status email saying the fax failed. Huh, that's weird. Well, they're getting this document. So, I changed the system configuration to unlimited retries after failures to keep redialing until it went through. Weird, I was still getting status email failures. I'll delete the failure emails and keep the success one after it eventually goes through, I thought. Problem solved. 2 days later, a lady from his office called and asked me to stop sending the fax. Their fax/scanner/printer/copier had been printing non-stop. It kept getting paper jams, kept running out of ink, and they had to keep shutting it off and back on to print. I explained that her boss told me to send this by the deadline or else he would call the DA and IRS. Since I didn't want a call from the DA or the IRS, I would keep sending until I get a success confirmation. I suggested they just not print until my fax completes. But she didn't like that. She asked me to email the documents, and I told a little white lie that my email wouldn't allow an attachment that big. Unless her boss in writing agreed to cancel the request or agree to reimburse me for my costs to print and ship, I said I would continue to fax until they confirm they have received every page. She put me on hold, and the attorney gets on the line. He said forget sending the financials. I said that I would need this in writing, so I will keep sending the fax until he sent that to me. He asked me to stop faxing and he would send it in writing, and I said send it in writing first and then I'll stop. Long moment of silence. Click. About 20 minutes later, I received an email from his assistant with an attached, signed letter in PDF that I no longer needed to provide financials. The letter then threatened to pursue sanctions in court or sue me for interfering with their business. Every time I saw him after that, the lawyer never brought up sanctions, lawsuits, criminal referrals, or financials again. TLDR. X accuses me of hiding income and money laundering. Her divorce lawyer demands 3 years of financials. I spam fax them with my company's e-fax service. Now to the comments. I call it paper bombing. I do this, generally via scan and email, when the entire record is requested. I was asked if the receiver needs the entire record, or just the most recent court orders, case plan, assessment, etc. Most of the time they say they just want the most recent set of documents plus the entire narrative. Easy peasy for them and me. But, if they ask for the entire record, that is exactly what they get. It may take me days in between my regular work, but if you want 4 banker boxes full, you get 4 banker boxes full. I never copy and snail mail. They waste my time for unnecessary paperwork. They can waste their own paper and printer toner/ink. In all the years I've done this, or 10 out of the last 19, I've only had to do the full paper bombing 3 or 4 times. OP replied, I actually enjoyed putting this all together and sending it. Not gonna lie. It wouldn't work nowadays if they had a modern system. Our faxes come in as PDFs and are emailed to us. No paper wasting anymore. Especially when it's banks requesting the same insurance documentation they received 3 days before but their system hadn't processed it yet. The fax, the whole fax and nothing but the fax. You want the fax? You can't handle the fax. I want to give you both my free award, but I can't, so I shall give it to neither. Now that they opted out of faxes, maybe a singing telegram? OP replied, why didn't I think of that back then? Wish I could upvote this twice. After the lawyer threatened you should have met him in person next time and asked if it was like his last threat over the financials. He requested it and you sent it. That's the opposite of interfering with their business. And he would have lost that the second he told the judge he asked you to send it. Not your fault. In all his schooling he never considered it might be more than 1 page. I guess he should have aimed his educational aspirations lower. This made me laugh out loud. I especially love the black ink, white text, and extreme separator pages. Well done. There was a fax bomb you used to be able to do with the old thermo paper. Hit it with a lighter/torch/clothes iron and it had turned black. Since it usually came on a roll, you could get a nice long strip of it, blacken it, and then start sending it through a fax. Once the end sticks out, you tape it to the top. Keeps scanning. It would send the other side black page after black page. Non-stop. Until they pulled the cord out of the back of the machine to kill it. When CMS had therapy caps back in 2012 to 2013 and I was a clinic manager, my office manager and I used to have to routinely fax the government 80 to 100 page documents to appeal denial of coverage claims. Received a few calls from HR asking why the government was calling and complaining about excessive documentation. I've never felt better about being so inefficient. I used to be a divorce lawyer many years ago. Hysterical story. I love it. OP replied, every lawyer I've encountered so far has had a great sense of humor. Even this guy in the story as much as a dick to me as he was at times. Glad you enjoyed. My ex-wife's lawyer asked me to say I cheated on my wife so the divorce would get finalized. I never did that though, and when we walked into the courtroom 5 minutes later it was the first thing I had to tell the judge about. The letter then threatened to pursue sanctions in court or sue me for interfering with their business. For doing exactly what he asked? How is that possible? OP replied, I guess it was bullshit because it never came up again. I remember the threats being a long paragraph with a lot of legalese. What you did to them is actually an extremely common legal tactic, to bury the opposition in so much relevant documentation that it costs them an unreasonable amount of time and money to filter through it. It's a frowned-upon tactic by most judges, but it works, so lawyers do it to each other all the time. Lol. Kill them with ink, paper and jam. Love it. Gotta love death by bureaucracy.